Good morning, VBF. J2 here to go over morning devotions with you guys. We're going to be in Daniel 1, and I want to point out something. This is a time of hope. I'm reading intentionally right now. Like when I'm reading the word, when I wake up and read my devotions, when I'm listening to my devotions at night, I do that as well. I'm listening intentionally for hope, because right now it's a very hopeless time, and it's okay sometimes to read looking for God to give you some hope. And that's what I'm looking for in my daily readings for the last week or two. I've been looking for hope. So go ahead and do that when you're reading. Look for the God of living hope to encourage you guys. And that's what I hope I can do through today's devotions. And we're in Daniel 1. And I just want to give you guys a preface of where we're at. Daniel has just been taken captive. They've just taken Israel captive. And Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, which is the biggest city in the world at the time. That's what I think is cool about this. It's literally the biggest city in the world, has taken them captive. And this king is about to call Daniel and his friends and try to conform them, try to get them to start living the Babylonian ways. And that's what I want to point out. I want to jump to a verse in Romans. Romans 12:2 is one of my favorite verses. Do not conform of the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And I want you guys to keep that in your mind as we read. And let's just jump into it. In verse 3, it says, "Bring into the king's service some of Israel's royal family from nobility, young men without physical defect, handsome, showing aptitude in every type of learning, well-informed, quick to understand, qualified to serve in the king's palace." What he's saying is he wants you to grab some studs. Yeah, he wants you to grab some of Israel's good young men. And Daniel at this time is between the age of 15 and 17. He's a young dude who's trying to live a godly life. And I think that's important, that his goal in life is to stay godly and to stay holy. That's a very important part of Daniel's story. And it says this: the king assigned them a daily amount of food and wine from the king's table. They were to be trained for 3 years. And after that, they were going to be entered into the king's service. They're going to work for the king. But what the king is doing is he has pulled them away from all their friends. He's pulled Daniel and his friends away from his comfortability. He's pulled him away from everything he's known. He's isolated him. And now he's going to try to transform his mind and make him believe in the pagan ways of the Babylonians at the time. And I think that's important. And I'll explain how I'm going to tie that into where we're at today. But he says, this is what Daniel says to him. Daniel was resolved not to defile himself with the royal food or the wine that the chief official had asked him to do. So this is what he's saying. Daniel goes to the biggest king, to the king of the biggest city in the world, and he says, I'm not going to eat this food that you're trying to give me. I'm not going to drink this wine that you're trying to give me, because I know that you sacrifice it to false gods. That's what he's saying. He's saying that it's unclean, and he's trying to keep himself holy. That's what Daniel's trying to do in the story at this point. And that's where I want to tie it into where we're at today. We are in isolation right now. We are pulled away from our comfortability, from our friends, and all the enemy wants to do is get us to start conforming. He wants to get us to start maybe trickling back to our old ways. Maybe he wants to make you start drinking. Maybe he wants to make you watch some shows that you normally want to watch, but now you got some free time on your hands. Maybe he wants you to just isolate yourself and get your mind into such a dark place that you forget how good God is. That's why I open with let's stay encouraged, because we don't want our minds to start panicking and worrying just like the rest of the world. Not to say that they're bad people because they're worrying, but I want us to be that light. I want J2 to be that light like Daniel was. And look what happens in this story. The official that told Daniel to take the king's food says, I want to show you favor because I know you're from God's people, but I'm scared that the king is going to see that you haven't been eating his food and his wine. He's going to see your faces and see that you're kind of downcast. He's going to see that you look unhealthy and wonder why you look like that. He's going to think that you're not eating his food, that you're disrespecting him. So he's scared. He's worried at this point. But this is what Daniel says, and this is where he shows God's power. Please test your servants. This is what I love this. Please test your servants for 10 days. Give us nothing but vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then compare our appearance with that of the young men who eat the king's royal food. At the end of the 10 days, they looked healthier, better nourished, and were fatter than the young men who ate the royal food. So the guard took away their choice food of wine and let them eat vegetables and water. And this is what I want to say. During this time, spiritually, we can decide what we feed ourselves. We can start binge watching shows. We can start playing PS4. We can start just isolating ourselves. We can even start drinking. We can start building bad habits, putting toxic food into our souls, into our spirit. Or we can be like Daniel and decide that during this time, I'm not going to defile myself. During this time, I'm going to feed myself good spiritual food. I'm going to make sure. I love that all the churches are online right now. It is beautiful. It is beautiful. There's so many options. We are putting out so much content here at VBF. So you can feed yourself good spiritual food. So you come out of this built up and ready, well nourished, like it says Daniel and his friends were. We want to come out of this spiritually high. We want to come out of this spiritually better than we were when we went in. And I love that God shows his faithfulness in this story, because they were just eating vegetables and water and somehow gained muscle, somehow looked better. And they were able to smile. They were able to not look downcast because they were feeding themselves what God had told them to feed themselves. And I believe God has told us that during this time, we are to learn what his word says. We are to learn what his truth is. We are to learn how to hear his voice. We have no excuse not to get closer to God during this time. That's a challenge to me and to you guys. We should come out of here going, wow, I know God so much better. Thank you for this time. Thank you that I was able to take a time out in life, slow down, and find out what's really important. And I believe Daniel shows us that. So I hope you guys are encouraged. I hope you guys find a way to spiritually feed yourself good food, spiritually feed yourself something that will encourage you and those around you. And when you walk around during this time, when you go out to get that little bit of food, when you take a stroll down your neighborhood, they should be able to look at you and see that you are well nourished spiritually. They should be able to see that there's a glow, that there's a peace, there's something about you that says that person knows God. And that will open up the door for you to minister and for God to move. I love you, VBF. Let's stay encouraged during this time. Let's be the light. I'm out of here.